Good day everyone. Today we will talk about the development of large-scale student assessment tests which can be found in chapter 13. Before we start, what is large-scale student assessment or LSA? LSA is a measurement of student learning designed to describe the achievement of the students in particular areas of learning across an education system. It indeed came a long way in being used for different purposes with improvement of the student performance never failing to rank in importance. There are reviews of classroom test development process. First is planning the test, which specifies purpose of testing. Purpose of testing, you can know about what is the purpose of the test. What is the purpose of the test to the students and to the teachers. Number two is the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes is the result of the test conducted by teachers to the students. Either they have learned about the test or whatever they learned. Number three is the blueprint test format number of items, which can be considered item construction, which is performed by the classroom teacher following a table of specification. Item construction is performed by the teacher when discussing to the students about the items of the test, which they have a guide, what we call table of specification or TOS. Review and revision for item improvement. Number one is the judgmental approach. It is being used before and after administration test by the teachers peer to ensure the accuracy and alignment of test content to learning outcomes, by the students to ensure comprehensibility of items and test instructions. Empirical approaches, which is performed after administration of test. Obtain items statistics in the form of quality indices. A teacher of whatever level defines herself, even in the most simple way, why they are going to prepare a test, what they will assess, and they will test it. This is design or planning phase, which every assessment tool for whatever purposes it will be used will have to be drawn. The item construction which follows gives flesh to the test, to less informed or less conscientious teachers. Test constructions is item construction, full stop to them. What comes before and after item construction, which is reviewing the items, is of a little consequence anymore. Hopefully, the present course on assessment will bring about changes in the way you view test development as a process in order for testing results to get maximized. Score based on student performance can only be appropriately done if the tests from which they are derived have been constructed properly. Development process for large-scale tests. First is the changing the context from classroom to system-wide testing. There are other significant considerations that must be in addition to what are required by the teacher-made test. With an understanding of the nature of the large-scale student assessment, more questions must be addressed in the development process concerning purpose of test, coverage, length of test, review of items for quality and fairness, and such technical merits as validity and reliability, among others. Second, divide the class into four conversation groups. Discuss the concerns that must be raised if a large-scale assessment test will be developed. Third, as a class, discuss these questions and clarify them into phases of work they will fall under. What do you see as common steps between developing classroom tests and large-scale tests? First, they both need a test framework for specifying purpose of test, what are to be measured, to whom the test will be administered, what test format to use, the length of test, etc. Second, they both need to prepare a test blueprint or table of specification that specifies the content and knowledge skills to be covered and the number of items to be prepared for each learning outcomes. There is a need to review the items to ensure that the items measure intended outcomes, non-ambiguity of the problem, the plausibility of distracted, and the correctness of decayed options. Standard development test has each process. Create framework. Make blueprint. After making blueprint, you must write questions. After writing questions, you must review the content. After reviewing the content, you must have a fairness review. After that, the editorial review, stakeholders review, pilot testing, statistical review, and after that, all the process of development test is ready for use. The LSA process, however, spends much more time and efforts in carrying out multiple checks and a balance. The various types of view to be undertaken, content, fairness, editorial, stakeholders, and the statistical review also suggest the involvement of several committees or expertise like curriculum expert, teachers, item developers, testing expert, language specialists, sociologists, psychometricians, and statisticians, and other large database specialists. These are reflected into two steps which apparently are not done by classroom tests. Pilot testing of tests to sample groups whose characteristics are similar to the target population, and the statistical review that establishes the psychometric integrity of the items, and the test as a whole in terms of gathering empirical evidences for the validity of each score interpretations and reliability in terms of consistency of scores obtained across versions of the test. Case steps in large-scale test development. The test development process is basically influenced by standards for educational and psychological testing development by Americans Educational Research and Association, American Psychological Association, and National Council on Measurement and Education, 1985. While they are gathering as criteria for evaluating tests, they serve as the foundation of the process. Given these standards, ETS has developed its stringent guidelines contained in 2014 ETS standard for quality and fairness for each specific standards on validity scoring and reporting test results in addition to test design and development. Steps in development test by ETS. Step 1. Defining objectives. Who will take the test and what purpose? What skills or areas of knowledge should be tested? How should test takers be able to use their knowledge? What kind of questions should be including? How many of each kind? How long should the test be? How difficult should the test be? Step 2 is item development committees, who will be defining test objectives and specifications, helping ensure test questions are unbiased, determining test formats, considering supplemental test materials, reviewing test questions or test items written before writing questions. Step 3 is writing and reviewing questions. Item development and reviewers must see to it that each item has only one correct answer among the options provided in the test, conforms to the style rules used throughout the test. Step 4. The pretest. Items are pretested to sample groups similar to the population of the to be tested. Results should be determined, the difficulty of each questions, if questions are ambiguous or misleading, if questions should be revised or eliminated, if questions are incorrect, alternative answers should be revised or replaced. Step 5. Detecting and removing unfair. After pretesting, test reviews re-examine the items. Are there any test questions which has language symbols of words and phrases inappropriate or offensive to any subgroup of the population? Are there questions consistently performed better by a group than other groups? What items further need revision or removal before final version remade? Step 6. Assembling the test. After the test is assembled, item reviewers prepare a list of correct answers and are compared with the existing answer case. Are the intended answers indeed the correct answer? Step 7 and the last step. Make sure that the test questions are functioning properly. After the test administration, statisticians performs analysis of results to find out if the test is working as intended. Is the test valid? Are the score interpretations supported by empirical tests? Is the test reliable? Can the performance on one version of the test predict performance on any other versions of the test? What corrective actions need to be done when there are problems detected before final scoring is done?